Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 21 Hats podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Feldman. This week, we bring you another entrepreneurial fishbowl with Chris Hutchinson. These fishbowls are our virtual brainstorming sessions where we offer business owners the opportunity to pose a challenge they're facing to a group of owners and entrepreneurs from the 21 Hats community. This time, our volunteers are Alvin Elbert, founder of ARE Manufacturing, and his daughter, Megan Perona, who explained that their company had its best year ever in 2022, but has seen business fall off since then. For 40 years, ARE grew slowly but steadily on word of mouth. More recently, however, the Elbert family has concluded that it's time to do some real marketing. Like a lot of owners, though, they're a little overwhelmed by the options, unsure where to begin, and wary of wasting money. They also happen to be going through a family ownership transition. The 21 Hats brainstormers begin by asking a lot of questions, including whether the owners have invested in search engine optimization, whether they've gone back to some of the customers they lost to China, and whether they've considered hiring a marketing agency. Even in good times, owning and running a business can be a lonely pursuit. Our hope is that these weekly conversations will let owners know they are not alone in facing challenges. In fact, that's the whole idea behind the 21 Hats community. Engaging with other owners to get the kinds of insights only another owner can offer. If you're interested in learning more, step one is to sign up for the morning report, which highlights the most important news of the day for business owners so you don't have to go looking for it. Step two is to get on our Slack channel, where you can ask questions, get vendor recommendations, and tap the wisdom of a very impressive crowd. Just search for the 21 Hats morning report to sign up for a free trial. Joining me this week on the podcast are Chris Hutchinson of Trebuchet Group, along with his colleague, Katie Huey. Plus, David Barnett of Business Buyer Advantage, Chris Campbell of Ritzer, Jay Goltz of the Goltz Group, Josh Inglis of Propeller, Paul Jordan of Egeria Group, Lena McGuire of Spoka Kitchen and Bath, and Lisa Peterson of Wealth Clinic. The episode is titled, "For years, we thrived without marketing. Now what?" All right. You guys ready for some fishbowl? Woo! Let's do it. Welcome to our fourth fishbowl, led by our facilitator, Chris Hutchinson of Trebuchet. Chris, what does Trebuchet do?
We help leaders and teams work together better.
So you don't do fishbowls all the time, do you?
Only with you, Lauren. It's a unique thing that we get to do with you and the 21 Hats community, which is so cool.
All right. I like to hear that. As most of you know, our goal here is to have some fun, to maybe learn a little, but most importantly, to try to help out some entrepreneurs who are facing an interesting challenge. Our guests of honor today are Alvin Elbert and Megan Elbert Perona, who are going to share about ARE Manufacturing. More about that in a minute. Chris, why don't you give us a quick reminder of how this works and what we're going to do?
Sure. The overall, you're going to interview Alvin and Megan and sort of get the basic setup of what the situation they're facing. And as we all know, the presenting situation is usually not the real situation that we need to deal with. This group here will ask questions of Alvin and Megan to help everyone learn more about what the real challenge is. And then after we get that, Alvin and Megan will pick, based on those answers, one or two things they really want advice on. We'll capture all your great ideas, next steps, cautions, or success tips. And then this group will get that vote them up. So the most brilliant ideas go to the top. We'll share those with Alvin and Megan. And at the end, they get to pick however many of those they'd like to implement. And
they're required by law to implement exactly what they
absolutely. It's a 30-day commitment.
Yeah,
and we check in on you.
All right. So let's try to set the scene here a little bit. Alvin, you started ARE Manufacturing in a garage as something of a side hustle, I believe. When was that?
That was in 1980. I was 23 years old.
What was the basic idea?
Make the decisions myself.
You're an entrepreneur.
I've been in machining my whole career. Tried to be a machinist when in high school, and I got out in the industry, found out I was pretty good at it, and decided I'd rather make the decisions myself than have somebody else tell me how to do it. So I started my own machine shop.
And it was a contract machine shop from the beginning?
Yeah, it's always been contract machine shop, job shop.
And who are your customers?
Mostly our niches for the whole time has been dental equipment. Right now, I think 50% of our work is for the dental industry. It's not really the little small stuff. It's really the bigger stuff. I mean, parts for dental chairs, all the bent tubes and arms and everything the dentist uses, the lights, all that. So we make parts, components for that.
We do very little assembly or like finished end product. So we make all of the pieces. Like when you go to the dentist, the cart where they hang all of their tools on, we make all the individual pieces that go into that cart. We sell them to our customer. Our customer puts them all together and they sell them to the dentist. And that's for just about every industry. That's how it works.
Megan, what's your role at the business?
I do the finances.
And how did the business do, Alvin? At what point did it stop being a side hustle?
It was a side hustle for 4 years. And we finally got a dental equipment company that he was just starting out and he started growing pretty fast. So it got to where I had to quit my regular job and just do it full time. That was 1984. Yeah, we kind of steadily grew slowly. I think in 2004, we were up to about 25 employees. So we've grown up to that and had moved from Dundee to our current location.
In Oregon, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're in Newburgh. And we basically had a smaller building, built a bigger building, but we're still at that same location that we moved to. We moved here in 1987. 2004 was kind of a big year because we actually bought a machine shop in Bend, Oregon, and closed that operation down, moved all the work over to our facility here in Newburgh, doubled in size overnight, total chaos. It took us about a year to get back on top of it. But through that chaos, we also started reaching out to different government agencies and community support things and kind of really changed our whole outlook of how we operated and how we run our business and how we get involved in the community. So the last 20 years has really been completely different from the first 20 years.
What was your best year?
2022.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Everybody was spending their COVID money, so we made lots of parts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And had your customer base broadened much, or was it still mostly dental?
It has broadened. I mean, probably in 2004, it was probably 80, 90% dental. So one of the things was, once we kind of changed our model and everything, was to try to get diversified. So, and we're about 50% right now. I mean, dental is really good work and we're good at it, and we're known to be in that niche. So we don't mind doing it, but we do like to try to get in some other areas.
And how big was the business in 2022? Revenues and employees?
Probably 30, I think around 30 employees. You know what the sales were back then?
We were probably doing, before COVID, it kind of goes up and down. I mean, we had a really good year in 2018 because we sold like 6 million. We had 50 employees. Our biggest customer moved everything to China. And then we went back, COVID hit, and we went down to about 30 with COVID. 2022, got back up over 6 million, had 50 employees, but things all dropped off once inflation hit and people got all their COVID money spent. And so now our sales, last year our sales were 4.5, and we're down to about, I think we have 38 employees right now.
Yeah.
Is that about what you expect to do this year in terms of revenue?
Hopefully we do about 5 because it's hard to make a profit if we do less than 5.
Yeah.
We didn't make a profit last year.
No, we had our worst year ever last year.
I'm saying last year because our fiscal ends September 30th. So our year already ended.
Yeah.
Got it. So you traditionally have relied primarily on word of mouth for marketing, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. I mean, back like when we were in the garage, we had one main dental customer. And then, you know, the buyer from there went to a different dental company. And so then we picked up some work from that dental company. And then the buyer at that first company, the new guy, he went somewhere else and he told someone. And so, yeah, we really have relied on word of mouth for 40 years.
And we have been fairly successful at that because
we stayed in
we
business.
work really hard on delivering parts on time and making good parts, do good quality, so we don't cause our customers problem. So usually they keep coming back. And that was kind of always been our marketing is do it on time, do it right. People keep coming back.
So what do you think has changed the last couple of years? Have you had a lot of business go to China? Was that part of it?
I mean, I think in the last 20 years, a lot has gone overseas. I think about 2008 was when dental really went overseas. So there's a lot of parts that we used to make that we will never make again.
What about just the last 2 years? What's changed?
I think the change mostly, I mean, our second largest customer decided to start selling direct instead of using a dealer network. So they're making more profit on their units, but they don't sell as many.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't help us any because we still sell it for the same price and make half as many parts as we used to. So that one's really hurt us. But dental still has been pretty good. I think it basically had, it kind of did a big spike 2022, and now it's gone back down to normal. I don't think it's much less than that, but it's about the same. Outsourcing to China has always been a big issue and problem for us.
Yeah, and I think one of the bigger things with that is that we historically did large volume repeat work, and the work that we've lost to China is large volume repeat work because that's simple stuff that you can make a bunch of somewhere else and then have slowly shipped back to the US. So I think that's the biggest thing is we lost the bread and butter parts, the bread and butter money that we had coming in. That's what we've lost to overseas.
So here, is it okay for me to equip the group here to make sure?
Please.
All right. One of the challenges of doing this kind of work in a group like this is that people are brilliant and love to save and rescue others. And that's not what we're looking for. This next set of questions really is around surfacing shared clarity, not about your thinking, around the situation. We're really just trying to understand collectively what's happening here because the presenting issue is not always the real issue. So who would like to go first? Go ahead, Jay.
Hi, Jay Goltz, the Goltz Group. So my question is, I'm trying to get the landscape of your industry. Are there trade shows that one can go to that potential customers at? Are there trade publications that you can target? Are there email lists and mailing lists? Is there some way of identifying potential customers?
There is some stuff out there. There's like one trade show. I never really thought it was a good fit. It was kind of question whether or not there'd be enough return on it. I mean, I actually went to the show a couple of times to see what it was about. Publications, there's some publication out there to kind of advertise in them. I don't think it'd be very effective. I mean, there's some trade associated groups. Before COVID, we were part of a couple of trade associated groups. Didn't really get much out of them. I mean, as far as customers, but COVID hit, we kind of dropped them because we didn't really have money. So what do you got, Megan?
Yeah, I mean, I think the one thing that makes it a little hard is that we don't have one specific industry that we serve. Because like I said, we do about 50% dental. And then we have 10% aerospace. We do some for recreational, home goods, construction, machine tools. I mean, it's a mix of things. So, I mean, I think that is something that we could probably pick a couple that we wanted to focus on and pursue those in that way.
Okay, great. Thanks. David, what's your question?
I just wanted to ask what about your equipment or experience makes you so well suited to the dental? And you mentioned a few of the other industries that you do work for. So I guess I'm just trying to think about or ask what brainstorming you've done about other industries you might be serving.
Yeah, I mean, we can do good quality and we can do it fast. I think that's the biggest thing, especially versus overseas, is that we can deliver a job much faster, especially I think around 90% of our customers are here in Oregon. So I mean, almost all of our customers are close enough that we can drive the parts to them if they needed us to. So that's definitely, I think, the advantage that we have. We have the same equipment everyone else has. We do our hiring and training within the business a little differently. So I guess that's unique too. We actually, we hire with no experience necessary, which is somewhat unique for a machine shop. And then we have an in-house training program and we teach them how to do it from the ground up. So that also means we use a lot of lean systems for just specifically how to set up jobs and how to run them. That kind of lends towards that too. So.
Okay, great. Thank you. Who has the next question? Josh, go ahead.
My name's Josh. Longtime friend and contact of Lauren back from his reporter days at Inc. and beyond. Excited to be on here.
What's the name of your business, Josh?
Propeller. We do B2B technology communications. So a question I would have, it's sort of two parts. What is the buying cycle? Like how far from like initial contact to sale and what steps are in there? Like, do you have to prove yourself or whatever? And then the other part is based on an average order, how many new customers would you really need to bring on to have a meaningful growth number?
Do you know what the current sales timeline would be?
I mean, typically, if the normal one is we get a request for quote, we try to quote it within 2 days. We get the job. We typically can fill jobs somewhere between 5 to 30 days, depending on the complexity of the job. If there's a new company, generally there's a certain amount of vetting gets done. And that kind of, the bigger the company, the more bureaucracy it has, the longer it takes. So some companies, it might just be, a questionnaire and, non-disclosure agreement, and maybe 2-3 weeks we're going. Probably the longest the process has ever taken is about 6 months, where we contacted and finally did something for them.
Yeah, and sometimes it just depends too how quickly the customer wants their stuff. There's a new customer who we had been talking to for probably about a month or so, but then all of a sudden they had a job that they want next week. And then it was a very fast process all of a sudden.
The second one around sort of how many new customers do you think you would need for like meaningful growth?
It depends on the customer and the parts that they're making. I mean, if it's a small company and it's $1,000 order, we're going to need a lot of those. But if it's, a larger company where it has the potential to be, we're going to make the same order, the same, $10,000 order every 2 weeks, and we take one of those and we'll be fine. So
break even's about 5 million. 6 million is a good number for us to be profitable. We'd like to be 6 million. I mean, 80% of our sales is probably 5 customers, maybe 6 customers.
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be nice to get a couple of bigger customers that were somewhere between 200 to 500,000. Now, if we got 2 or 3 of those, we'd be in good shape. But we haven't been able to really get one of those for the last couple of years.
Yeah, great. Thank you. All right. Who has the next question to help us continue to understand the situation Alvin and Megan are facing? Dave, you have another one?
If you think the talk of potential new tariffs on imports could have any impact on your business?
I don't think it's coming back.
I mean, there's slowly been stuff happening, some reshoring, shoring, and some things like that. Maybe it might do a lot. Tariffs always have a tendency to affect every others too. So maybe it would generate some work for us, but most likely it's going to raise raw material prices and other prices instead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know that I don't see a lot of benefit for us. I kind of be more concerned that it would raise our cost, actually. I like manufacturing. I've always thought manufacturing, more of it should be U.S. based. That we send way too much of it out of the country. So if tariffs actually could get more manufacturing happening in the U.S., I'd like to see that.
Alvin, when you're not competing with China, who do you compete with?
Vietnam.
Well, no, you're basically locally.
Yeah.
I mean, we're typically usually 40, 50 employees. It's not a huge machine shop, but not the smallest either. I mean, we're good mid-sized, a little bit bigger size. I mean, in Newburgh, there's 10 job shop machine shops in Newburgh, at least. We're the biggest one in town. Most of them are going to be 5-10 employees. So, but especially on the dental, I end up competing. I mean, they're in the same town with all the other, there's a lot of dental manufacturers in the area. So most of them are doing dental, and 50-employee company has more overhead than a 5-employee company. Our prices are usually higher, but our delivery's better. Usually our quality's better. So we still compete with them.
Okay, great. Jay, you have another question.
Yeah, I went to your website. Have you put any energy in, you don't come up. I took your exact phrase of high precision CNC machining, and you don't come up in the Google search. Have you put any energy into working on getting your website to come up and drive sales?
Some, but
we started
not
doing a little
enough.
bit of it this year, and I think it's actually a little better. But I was just on the other day, a couple of days ago, just CNC Machining Portland. Now we're page 5. CNC Machining Newburgh, we're on the first page, But I think Sherwood, we didn't show up. I think Hillsborough, we were on this 3rd page. So yeah, we don't show up. So it's definitely an area that could improve.
Yeah.
We agree.
Yeah, I wonder if there's any other questions. Lena, go ahead.
What terms would you consider your search engine optimization terms? You said CNC machining. Are there other terms that your ideal customers would be looking for?
No, precision machine shop, maybe something like that.
Yeah. I think CNC machine shop kind of captures most of it.
But
And then I think location would probably be the next thing. So Oregon, we're outside of Portland. So Portland.
And Lena, can you, for your name and your company?
Sure. Lena McGuire, Spoka Kitchen and Bath.
Great, thanks. Other questions that would help us understand the lay of the land? Go ahead, Lauren.
Could you tell us about some of your other clients? What other industries have you worked in?
we do a little bit of aerospace. We do a couple parts for a couple helicopter places. I mean, one that actually builds helicopter. The other one makes spring systems for helicopters. So we did some work for them.
There's a company here in Newburgh that makes tools for repairing machinery. We make a lot of parts for them. And there's a company in the next suburb over from us that does, they have a measuring system unit that they sell. And so we make the pieces for that. They were for a while making robotics for building iPhones too. So we were making the components for them for those.
The recreation areas, we make all the parts for a paintball gun. We make parts for the boating industry for particular tournament ski boats. So we make parts for that industry.
There's also a couple different furniture companies that we make like door hardware, cabinet hardware for. Yeah. So, I mean, for the most part, if it has a blueprint, we can make it. We're not super picky, really.
Awesome. Go ahead, Jay.
Give us a breakdown because I have no clue. Do you have 100 customers, 50 customers, 500 customers? And then how the biggest customer, what percentage of your business is it?
I think in a month, we probably have about 25 to 30 active customers. In the course of a year, it's maybe closer to 50.
Probably.
And then largest customer, I think right now is 25% of sales, which for us is good. I think in the past, we did have one customer that was 75% of sales. So we are more diverse than we historically have been.
Cool. I've got a question, actually. How much business do you lose? Like, how much are you quote and you just don't get it versus?
It's usually about 35%.
Yeah, so we're losing 70 to 65.
Yeah.
And what's the main reason people say that you're losing it?
Price.
It's probably price more than anything.
Okay.
But I mean, it could be other things too. But and I don't really think For the industry, 35% isn't that bad.
Great. Dave, do you have a question?
Yeah. So I was just wondering, you said that the prices you charge are quite high and the quality of the components you make is also very high. I'm just wondering what proportion of the total bill is related to transportation. Would you be able to just as easily serve people that are further afield than the people that you're serving right now?
Yeah, we definitely can. When I was saying that we had a customer that was 75% of sales, I think the bulk of that was being shipped across the country to South and North Carolina. So we have had customers in other states. We're not only to Oregon. The only thing is, I mean, normally that customer, they're going to pay for the freight or the UPS to get it to where they are.
It does seem like freight isn't that big a deal. So when I say that, we said we do parts for a furniture company. They're in Rhode Island. We ship all our stuff to Rhode Island, and it doesn't seem to be an issue with them.
Yeah, I think the bigger problem is since we have relied so heavily on word of mouth, is just getting our name into places that are not here in Oregon.
Go ahead, Lauren.
I'm just curious, Alvin, what's your long-term goal here? Do you have a succession plan, and what are you hoping ultimately happens with the business?
Yeah, both my daughter and my son work here, and so a year and a half ago, I turned over day-to-day operations. So it's pretty much now Megan, my son Troy, and I have a 38-year employee that runs the machine shop for me, but I basically turned over day-to-day to those three people. I'm a very hands-on person, so stepping away, there's a lot of stuff I took care of, and now I have to turn it over to other people. And some stuff only happens once a year. So getting that stuff turned over. Basically, in 2 years, I'll be 70 in 2 years. Plan is to stop taking a salary and step away even more at that point. But as far as the succession planning, the three running it, they can have it. I don't really care to sell it for a big ton of money or anything like that. I just want the rent on the buildings because I want all the buildings.
Do you want the business, Megan?
No, not at all. No, my brother says he will take it. I said I will work here, but I don't want to own it. No, that's a hard no.
Well, what about does your brother want it?
Yes, my brother says that he wants it and will take it. So, yeah.
All right, you're a winner. You got one. I struck out on three. I'm 0 for 3.
Okay, at this point, Chris asks Alvin and Megan to specify a couple of areas where they would most appreciate some guidance. Once we have that, Chris will lead the group in brainstorming ideas. Chris's colleague, Katie Huey, will help the brainstormers post the suggestions on a virtual whiteboard. Then, all of the participants will like the ideas they find most promising for Alvin and Megan's consideration.
All right, Alvin and Megan are ready. The answer is...
Yeah, we compared notes. So I think we have two things. One of them did come up, so we could use some advice on SEO and, fixing our website.
Okay.
And then the other thing, which I don't think quite came up, but one thing is how best to use our time and energy. So we only have so much time and energy. And so it's not possible to tackle all of the different forms of sales and marketing with the resources we have. So which ones would we be like? Should we put everything into just trying to fix the SEO and the website, or just keep focusing on our existing customers, or try to get a national name recognition? So your feedback on where you think we can get the most bang for our buck, or where long-term it would serve us best to put that energy.
That'll be really great. So we have those two pieces. So let's discuss the different ideas everyone has succinctly around those different things, around SEO and where to do energy around sales and marketing. Who would like to start? Lena, go ahead.
Okay. So with the SEO, what I'm hearing is that you are taking all kinds of work that comes in. And when you're saying that you are high quality and higher price than other people, the first thing I think of is that you have a value issue, and that to differentiate, you should specialize in something that requires high precision and quick turnaround, like medical parts, helicopter parts, things where safety is involved and that kind of thing. And that would help differentiate you. And once you describe your differentiator, then you can start searching for the SEO terms, because without that difference, you're just throwing more spaghetti at the wall.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who would like to go next? Jay.
I'd like to add to what was just said. I think the issue now is there's no spaghetti getting thrown against the wall at this point. There's virtually no marketing going on. Calling word of mouth marketing is kind of a stretch. So the opportunity is to build a great website that talks about those unique selling propositions that she just said about, what is your specialty? But given that it's so easy to ship stuff nationally, I don't think one needs to raise awareness. I think it's all in getting the website fixed, putting the right content on it, and just sitting back and waiting for people to find you, because it's 2024. I believe that if you do nothing more than supercharge the website and get the SEO, I think your problems will go away. One more thing quickly. You said you've turned over everything. Well, I'm going to go back to the family dynamics. Megan, is that true, or is he still looking over your shoulder? No, don't do that. I want to spend the money. Is he giving you a hard time on stuff? Because I'm the exact same age as he is, so I understand the dynamic there.
Well, for the most part, I mean, I think when he said that he would be not in the day-to-day, he still reserved the right to have the final veto, which he owns it, so that's fair. Yeah. So, but no, I think it actually is going fairly well. Like, I hear stories of other family businesses, and I think, man, I guess we're doing pretty good, actually.
Where's your brother, meanwhile? Why isn't your brother on this? If he's the one that wants to own the business, why are you the one on here, not your brother?
It would be hard to fit 3 people in this.
But I'm just saying, he's the one that wants to own the business. You made it clear you don't. So it seems
So Jay, may I interrupt?
Go ahead.
Around this thing you're talking about, is there a success tip, caution, or a next step do you think you'd recommend?
Yeah, someone needs to decide who wants to be in charge and have some authority to make some decisions.
Okay, there you go.
Because otherwise, it's just, talk.
I hear success tip and caution. Get 2 for 1. Perfect. Thanks, Jay. Somebody else had their hand up. Josh. So go ahead, Josh.
I've seen this a lot where a company thinks it knows why people buy from it, but they don't really know. They think it's value. They think it's speed. They think it's price, whatever. Do you talk to your customers much? Like, Leon, how did you pick us? And then maybe longer term relationships. Why are you still here? What are you interested in?
Yeah, we do like a quarterly review where we kind of randomly select like maybe 4 to 5 customers who have ordered from us in the last quarter. And then we have a customer service person who is moving into a sales role, who reaches out to the customers and just has a conversation with them about how things are going, and then kind of does a summary of it at our quarterly management meeting. So we do hear feedback on how we're doing, what people like, what they don't like.
Some of our customers do scorecards, supplier scorecards,
Mm-hmm.
so we get some feedback that way too.
Okay, great. Thanks. Anybody else have? Paul, let us know your name and your company and what's your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. Paul Jordan, Egeria Group. We're an investment firm. And I find this fascinating. I think you have a great, really neat company. I guess, I do think that SEO is kind of table stakes. I would agree completely with Jay as far as that goes. But I thought one other interesting point you brought up was the 70% rate of customers that you don't win the quotes from. And I was just wondering if it'd be worth spending some time to go through some of those lost ones, reaching out. Is there a customer there that you keep quoting that you keep losing on? Focus in on a few of those, or quality companies that don't need a lot of vetting that are legit to go after, and just, a couple phone calls, consistent emails may go a long way to putting you on top of their radar for the next job they have.
Yeah, that's a good feedback too. We actually, our current employee who we mentioned, who does like a customer liaison role, he's going down to part-time and is going to retire in the next handful of years. And so we have another employee that we're moving into that liaison, more sales role. And that's one of the things that she did was she reached out to, there's a part of like a division within SCORE called MAT, which is like SCORE specifically for manufacturers. And she talked with them about the sales and marketing. And one of the things that came up was making like a sales funnel that shows the whole sales path. And that was one thing that came up. And there are so many opportunities where we really should reach back out. Oh, you didn't, and like reaching out on the jobs that we didn't get and making a formal process around that. One thing that's happened since between when I talked to Lauren about this initially and now is that like we did start working on that like sales funnel. And one of the things that came up was that I think part of why sales and marketing always got left to the side was that one, we had enough work that we didn't worry about it. But two was that we're really good at processes and we're really good at lean manufacturing and we know how to run a machine and follow a setup sheet. And we never took the time to make setup sheets and processes for marketing. So that's one of the things. And to your point, I think we want to start making a process for like, this is what we do with every order because it's not happening super consistently right now.
Okay. David, you got something you want to share?
Yeah, I don't think that you can really work on the website and do SEO or even put content on there that's going to attract the best type of customer until you really know who the best type of customer is and what they want.
Yeah.
So I think you should look at your customers that you're working with today that you think are the best customers for you, the ones you really like.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think what you need to do is identify some lookalike companies out there that are just like those companies everywhere in the US. And so if that's in dental manufacturing or aerospace or military subcontractors, whatever it happens to be, you can make a list of these, love to have clients and then call up their purchasers.
Yeah.
And just ask them, what are you looking for in a supplier? We're trying to become more adaptable to be more readily available for companies like you. We want to be able to bid on your next project and make you happy. What are you looking for? And you can then gain sort of a perspective and feedback on what kinds of things those purchasers might type in to Google. And I'm not 100% sure that in some of these industries, there really are purchasers typing things into Google looking for suppliers. I tend to think that a lot of people are knocking on their doors and that ultimately your marketing might have to take more of a sales effort kind of bent. Where you're knocking on the doors of all the dental manufacturers in the US and anywhere else you can ship. One of the things that drove people to buy from China is even though they had to pay in advance a lot of the times and then wait 6 months for the goods to arrive, it didn't matter to them because money was so cheap. And today money is more expensive and it's harder to have a whole bunch of money tied up in inventory. Some of the people you used to do work for may be interested in reducing their investment in inventory and goods that are at sea. And so there could be an opportunity for you to do smaller batches more frequently with less investment on their part. I would dust off your records and go knock on some doors of people you used to serve.
Yeah, thanks, David. Go ahead, Jake.
David, that is extremely insightful. You just described my situation. I've been ordering from China. Money was cheap. I didn't care how long it took. And now money's not cheap. And yeah, I got too much inventory. So that was very, very insightful and smart. And you're 100% right. There's plenty of companies out there that the world's changed. When interest is 3, it's very different than when it's 6. So I do think you're right.
So one of the things that I want to offer, and then we'll go to Lauren, is sort of a connection with some of these. Based on what David said, is knocking on the doors. I think you have an opportunity to turbocharge your word of mouth and take that list of those companies you want and go to the people that you're great and say, who do you know in these companies? They will make those connections. And that could be a really great way for you to use that word of mouth to get to where you want to go to do the sort of things you're talking about. So it's a twist on what we talked about.
One of the things it seems like I've noticed over the last few years is nobody wants to answer the phone. You can't actually talk to anybody. They don't actually answer the phone. You send them an email, they don't answer the email, but it doesn't seem like the communication is there as much as it used to be 20 years ago.
I think it's the relationship because you got to screen out I don't know, in my business is 95% of the emails I get are not useful. So when somebody contacts me that I know, which is why I'm sharing that tip, I think it would really help. Lauren, what is your tip?
Question. I think David made a great point about it, trying to expand your footprint geographically, looking for customers. And it made me curious. Jay asked you about going to trade shows, and Alvin, you said you'd gone to one. I'm curious, what industry was that trade show?
Isn't that Design to Part one?
Something like that.
There's one called Design to Part, which is kind of meant for like prototyping and like job shops.
And I was kind of guessing it was something like that. I'm curious, there's got to be a national dental trade show where people are looking for work, and maybe that's the trade show that you should be at.
Yeah, I mean, and to be honest, we've never done anything like that.
Okay, great. Any other? Lena, go ahead.
So my tip is to learn to say no to the people who are not your ideal customer. So if you're taking on these jobs that it's going to get you $1,000, you're spending a lot of time when you look at your dollars per hour for working, and you're going to spend so much time doing these little piddly jobs that you're not making room for the big jobs.
Mm-hmm.
So my tip is to learn what job is what you're looking for, maybe even create a client persona or 2 or 3. And try to use them as gatekeepers so that you're not taking work that you don't want, because the work that you take, people are going to go out and say, oh, they do that. And then you're going to have more of that kind of work instead of what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, Jay.
I've spent money for marketing for 40 some years. I have to tell you, I believe you're going to need a mind shift. You're going to have to accept you're going to lose some money on some stuff.
Yeah.
I can see your face. Oh, the trade show. You already dismissed everything. Like, and the concept of no one answers the phone. Bullshit. I mean, that is just bullshit. I mean, are less people answering the phone? Clearly, but there's plenty of people that answer the phone, and the smart companies are still calling up customers. So you've dismissed because you've got it in your head. No one answers the phone. So that's all. You're going to have to try some stuff. And I am confident if someone sat there on the phone all day long, they get some people on the phone. And the trade show thing, yeah, I've done some. I lost money on them. I've done some where I found one big customer. It's not a perfect science is the point. Unlike you buy a machine part, you buy a machine, you buy a car, you get something here, you could blow $5,000 and like, oops, didn't work. So you just have to accept that that's going to be part of the game.
Good deal. Josh.
This might be way too tactical, but as you think about the different verticals you're in, dental, obviously, and the others, I would start capturing case studies. And case studies can literally be the most basic. They don't have to be super deep about the whole story of the account and everything that you've done, but just something that it could just even be a quote and maybe a picture of the part, or it could just be a company logo and a quote with like an unnamed person, just like head of procurement at this company. But I would be capturing more of those in those industry verticals, because you don't know who is. Maybe people are coming to your site and they're like, oh, I don't see any. They don't seem to know my space. I don't see any evidence of aerospace here or dental or whatever. So I'm going to go to some other place that does. So I think demonstrating you have expertise in these verticals, and some of them sound like they're probably pretty competitive, or they would pay a premium like aerospace, I think would be a really smart thing to do. And also when you do that, by the way, you could sprinkle in words like Portland or Oregon or whatever, and all of that stuff helps your SEO, obviously.
Yeah, agreed.
Awesome. Well, I think we've done a great job of getting some ideas. Some are in conflict with each other. Some of them are different aspects of this. So now we're enlisting the folks who are here in the room to go through. And on the right-hand side, you see the little thumbs up button. It's basically a like. So essentially, the idea is click on those things you think, this is fabulous, fantastic, helpful advice.
I think everything that everyone said is not in conflict. I think there was some great, I didn't hear anything that was in conflict, frankly.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, I think it was all good info. So I think for us, it'll just be more picking which thing to focus on first, kind of.
Dave, do you have a comment or a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, if there's a purchaser or someone at a company that you really want to talk to, and Alvin, they will not take your call, they will not answer the phone, I think you should have some guys in your shop do a limited production run of some really unique doohickey that demonstrates the precision and quality of the kinds of things you can make. Like not a real part, just sort of a little demo piece that would be like a paperweight, but something that's really unique looking and different, so that you can mail it to that person. And you can say, hey, I'm Alvin. I say, I've been trying to reach you on the telephone. I haven't been able to. I wanted to send you a little peek at the kind of stuff that we make every day for our customers all across the country. And just make that really unique standout thing that they've got to handle in their hand. And so that they look at the person's card, they recognize the number, maybe you've left a voicemail, and they can put it all together and realize, hey, maybe this is someone I want to talk to. So I'm a big fan of breaking through that sort of digital wall people have up by sending stuff that they have to actually handle in the mail.
So David snuck that in. If you like that, click on that far right button, little thumbs up button, and we'll see where that falls. And then there's going to be a drum roll just really soon here. Anybody need more time?
At this point, the group has reviewed the list of tips, cautions, and next steps, and liked all of the suggestions they find most promising. Now, we give Alvin and Megan an opportunity to ask the group any questions they may have about the advice.
So the one about identifying the best type of customer, I think it's been a really long time since we actually sat down and actually wrote that down. And so I think looking at that would be a good way to go. And then also turbocharging the word of mouth, that kind of goes with, knowing who it is that we want to talk to.
Yeah, that was a piggyback for sure.
Yeah. And I did really like the case study idea. And I think that would also go with fixing the SEO and fixing the website too. I mean, that goes hand in hand with that. So the next one about going to lose some money, that one is really hard for me because I do the finances. And so I look at what it's going to cost. And then I really question, is this worth it? Like, should we really spend the money here? And so I do recognize that is a problem that I have personally, and I do need to work on that. I've heard many times the theory about like second generation family businesses, like the second generation is usually much more risk averse than the first generation was. And that is very true. But in our case. So I do recognize that we do need to just try some things and accept that sometimes the money part of it won't pan out.
Megan, does this have something to do with your not wanting to own the business?
Oh, yeah.
Well, I saw Alvin squirming a little bit too. I don't think it's a unique thing to you. It's
and then also as far as the people not answering the phone, that is Alvin's belief. I agree with Jay that like it's harder to get through than it used to be. But too, also like the employee who is moving into that sales position, we told her, we kind of gave her carte blanche to like, go ahead and try whatever you want to try. And so I know she has tried just straight cold calling dental companies. And granted, I think 3 out of 4, no one would take her call. But the last one they did, turns out they do everything in-house. But now they know that we exist if they have overflow.
Jay, something you want to share?
I will tell you something else. You ever read a sales book, you call someone once, maybe they don't call you back. You call them 2-3 times, they're going to call you back. Say, listen, I wouldn't be bothering you if I didn't think it's sales 101. I mean, I think I heard years ago, it takes 7 calls to get and in my case, I get very few calls now because everyone's got it in their head. No one calls. I'm like, I'm not the only human being that answers their phone. I'm just not.
Man, I think one of the things that our system where it's at is I'm a hands-on person. I'm not a people person. So making the phone call is not something I like to do. If the work came in without making the phone call, that was good enough. But that's where if I'm stepping away, I don't think it's good enough. They need a better plan. So that's kind of one of the reasons let's start figuring out how we're going to do this.
Lauren has his hand up, though. He's going to share
I have
something.
one quick thought. I feel like there's kind of an elephant in the room. Nobody has suggested that you hire an agency to help you with your marketing. And I just think that's worth addressing. Have you guys ever considered doing that? And does anybody think they should do that?
We did work with Kinesis in 2020. So, and I think that's how we got connected to 21 Hats was through them. I think what they gave us was really helpful. And we have a stack of copy that they gave us to use, but we never had the bandwidth to actually do anything with it. So yeah, that one's on us.
Well, how about that second part of the question, Lauren? You said, does anybody recommend that they hire an agency? I saw some nodding heads.
Yeah, why reinvent the wheel? Somebody knows how to do this like the back of their hand. Why go figure this out on your own? I mean, I'd be careful who you hire, but clearly there's someone out there.
Well, that's a big challenge, Jay, as we all know.
I know it is. I'm the one trust me, I cringe when I think about it, but I know that there's someone out there in 5 minutes is going to do more than you're going to do in 5 months because they do it all day long. But yeah, trust me, I'm extremely worried about hiring those firms because I haven't had great experience in many cases. But they're in Oregon. People are nicer there. I got to think that they found somebody there.
So thank you, Alvin and Megan, for your vulnerability and everybody else for sharing your great ideas, because I think this is the spirit of the community and trying to help everybody be better. So I'm going to hand the baton off to Lauren.
And I'm just going to echo what Chris said. Thank you so much, Alvin and Megan. Thank you for sharing and allowing us to have this conversation. And thank all of you who participated, especially our facilitator, Chris Hutchinson of Trebuchet. Really appreciate everybody. Take care. One thing before you go. Everything we do at 21 Hats is created by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs to help us all learn together. If you get something out of listening to these podcast episodes, consider joining the conversation. You can do that by joining the 21 Hats Sounding Board, a Slack channel where you can tap the wisdom of a very smart crowd, or by becoming a founding member and joining our monthly Zoom forum, where you can be part of conversations much like the ones we have on the podcast. You can sign up for both by subscribing to the Morning Report. If you have any questions, you can email me at lauren@21hats.com. And if you get something out of this podcast or out of the Morning Report, please tell a friend, tell an enemy, tell every business owner you know. Your word of mouth, owner to owner, will always be the most effective way to build this community for all of us. Thank you. It means a lot. This episode was produced by another entrepreneur, Jess Stuberon, founder of Blank Word Productions. Thanks for listening, everyone.